After what was another extremely disappointing day at Pittodrie, it's now 4 straight league defeats without scoring. That's the first time that's happened since 2010. It's now not won in 7 games. It really is absolutely appalling. It's frightening, and I'm just at the end of my tether about what to say with it. This is what the manager had to say at the end of the game. This is a quote that I want to offer you. We're not good enough at the moment, especially for a club this size. That's what Peter Leven said, and he was absolutely spot on. The headlines mainly came from the West Coast media, gushing, as they will, about Rangers' revival and how they are edging ever closer to Hearts. I don't know if you saw Craig Gordon's save yesterday, but what an incredible save to keep them at the top of the table. It basically means that we stay in 8th position, still on 25 points. Thankfully, the teams in and around us, apart from Falkirk, didn't really make any tracks. So we remain in 8th place. Sorry about that at the top of the show. I had no idea where the titles went. It just about sums up the weekend, doesn't it? Great start to the show, Ali. Jeez, following on from yesterday's nonsense. So, guys, this is the review show after another defeat. So, unfortunately, Andrew Budge couldn't be with us tonight. But to be honest with you, Andrew and I had a quick discussion about it. And honestly, there really wasn't much to show you. We continue to... I just can't believe it happened again. I really can't. After what we all spoke about in the preview show, what the manager spoke about in the press conference, and we do it again. It's bordering on comical. That's what it is. I cannot understand how these professional football players can't defend set pieces. I'm at an absolute loss for it. I really am. And it wasn't just that. There was early warning signs as well. When the boy Fernandez nearly scored at the back stick from a set piece. When Nicky Devlin literally ran into Dante Polvar and the two of them ended up on the deck. It's just... I would expect that from my kids' school team. Not top flight professional football players. So this is where I am with it. I've thought long and hard about this today, and I'm not going to go on a rant because I just don't see the point. I'm going to try and stay rational about it. I'm going to try and find some sort of reasoning behind it. I'm going to try and stay level-headed. Where I'm at with it is this. We're a mess. We are a complete and utter mess. The summer recruitment, or the lack of, is now seriously coming back to bite us on the bum. And the whole recruitment process has left us now in this position. If you were with me for the preview show, Terry McDermott and I spoke about writing the season off. We still have the Scottish Cup to go for. We still have to defend that trophy. So there is still that to play for. But in terms of the league and league positioning, I think where I'm at now with it is that we just have to basically just knuckle down and just try and finish the season as strongly as we can, which means that what I think the sporting director has to do, and I think it's going to be really difficult for him, and I am not expecting anything wondrous to happen this month, because January is historically a very difficult month to get players in. But it is quite obvious that we need at least 5 or 6, 7 or 8 new players. Because I think the current crop are doing us a complete and utter disservice at the moment. First half yesterday, okay, not bad. But the second half was abject. It was awful. And it was the first time in a very, very, very long time that when they went 2-0 up, I thought, I can't bear this any longer. I don't even know if I want to watch. And it was my wee boy said to me, no, come on, Dad, let's just keep watching. You never know. But I was so disheartened. I really was. Players came into that side yesterday. They were given an opportunity, didn't grasp it. And what I really hope that the sporting director can do is bring in 3, maybe 4 guys who are going to come in and just solidify us to get us through to the end of the season. Because that's what I think we need. We just need to get through to the end of the season. And then literally, it's almost like taking a scrap of piece of paper, ruffling it up and chucking it in the bin and going, right, let's start again. Because that's where I think we're at with it. I think the whole structure of the playing side needs to be ripped up, thrown away and start again. But we have to get to the end of the season and we have to solidify our position. Now, this is not me being non-ambitious about where we end up. But I think the reality of it is this. We do not have a team that is good enough to compete at the higher level of the league at the moment. The players aren't good enough. I think we're seeing evidence of that week in, week out. Mentally, I think they're weak. So why are they weak? So what I'm going to do later on in the week is I'm going to speak to a sports psychologist to try and find out what is going on, to see if there are any patterns to suggest that the players at the moment are going into this game without any confidence, into any game without any confidence. And I think it's very worrying. So where I'm at with it is I'm not angry, I'm not annoyed, I'm not wound up. I just think we now have to admit to ourselves that we're now going to have to go through a process, a painful process, to get us through to the end of the season, where hopefully we can go on a cup run and hopefully we can start to see an improvement. But I think the sporting director, Lutz, is going to have to try and get 3 or 4 players in now to solidify us and get us through to the end of the season. That's where I'm at. And then rip it up, start again. Because I think at least 75% of that squad are not good enough. Nowhere near good enough for what we need, what we want, and what we require. When watching that game yesterday, the fans absolutely did their best to lift spirits. But there was moments in the game where Pittodrie felt like a ghost town. And there's almost a sense of resignation, particularly when they scored the first goal, which again for us is just comical. There's almost that sense of, oh, here we go again. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get annoyed. I just think we have to go through a process. I really do. And I think that process is going to be really, really difficult. And I think it's going to be really hard for us to watch decent football. Deary me. Yesterday's game. So, Peter made 4 changes to the game. You know, when I posted the team news yesterday, there was a lot of comments about too many changes again. Keeping the same style that Yimi Talene did, chopping and changing every single week. No settled 11. But I could see what Peter was trying to do yesterday and I applaud him for it. Leighton Clarkson came in, who I thought did okay first half, disappeared second. Came in for Kjartansson. Nicholas Milanovic, who I thought started brightly but completely disappeared. He came in for Kenan Bilalovic. Jesper Karlsson, for me, contributed nothing. Came in for Stuart Armstrong, who I also thought contributed nothing. Marko Lazetic came in for Kevin Nisbet, both who I thought contributed absolutely nothing to the game. And you will see why when I show you the player stats a little bit later. Here's the match stats for you. Possession-wise, believe it or not, we had more possession. Couldn't believe that when I saw that this morning. 7 shots to their 18. 5 shots on target to their 9. Successful final third passes. They doubled us. 42 to their 89. Dimitar Mitov, again. What did you think of the disallowed goal? He made 7 saves in total to Jack Butland's 5. I'm going to get you on and see how you guys are doing. See how you are feeling. Right. Okay, let me just drag this up to the top. Oh, there's a lot of you on tonight. Thank you for coming on. Right, where are we? Okay, so... Right, Alan Nichols says, we have to stop playing out from the back from goal kicks. We're just putting ourselves under so much pressure. The Sevco, we're just waiting to pressure us. So interesting, Alan, and a great point to start the show. Halfway through the second half, you could hear the team giving it, you could hear the fans giving it, no, hoof it up the park. And that's exactly what Dimitar did, and there was almost like... how can I put it? Like a thank God, yeah? You know, almost like, yeah, great, let's just get it up the park, yeah? Because, why are we playing this tactic? The Galaglass says, I think we're past the fear stage now, and some of the players, they couldn't give a toss stage. We desperately need new blood to try and get some enthusiasm going. Scott Murray says, where do we go from here? Suze is on, wishing you a good evening. Johnny Wilson says, evening all, I really don't know who would want to manage this shambles. David Gold says, good evening, dandies, it's Groundhog Day. Scott Murray came back to say, almost regret Yimi left, obviously not his fault. Alan Nichol came back to say, have we spoke about Mitov recently? It sticks in my throat, but Sevco's goal should have stood. I have to say, I'll be honest with you, when I saw it, I thought, that's a goal. And I think if that had happened at the other end, we'd be screaming for that to be a goal. But saying that, the boy does put his arm across Mitov's face. I think goalkeepers get far too much protection. You cannot challenge a goalkeeper these days. It's as simple as that. No matter how hard or how soft, you cannot challenge a goalkeeper. But for me, it's very, very worrying what he's like coming at crosses and dealing at set pieces. Very, very troubling. Bob's here. How are we doing, Bob? He says, hi, Ali. What do you know of this Marcus Gisdol fella? And more importantly, how do you pronounce his name? Haven't got a clue how you pronounce his name. I will find out for you. What I have done very quickly tonight before we came on here, and I'm sorry I was a wee bit late. I was getting my son home from football training. I've spoken to a Cologne friend of mine who wasn't overly enthusiastic, I have to say. And I spoke to a Hamburg friend of mine who was also not overly enthusiastic about him. So I'm going to do a little bit more digging. I'm going to speak to a couple of journalist friends of mine who work in the football world here, and I'm going to do more digging and see what I can find out. I didn't have time today to do it, so I will try and find out a little bit more today about him. Been heavily linked with us today, Marcus Gisdol. David Horn, good evening, fellow dandies. How is it going to take to get some new players and a manager in? Something has to happen soon. David, this is where I'm at with it. I don't think we can rush this process. I know we've only got 2 weeks, but we can't rush this process because we are in dire straits. We are awful on the pitch and we need players to come in. And there's no magic wand, I don't think, for it. I want to give Lutz the time, but especially for the manager. Thankfully, we've got the time with the manager. But with the players, he's going to have to be really careful who he brings in, because the players that he brings in, I don't want this where it's like for like. The players that we bring in have got to be better than we've currently got and will make us better. That's what we need at the moment. And I tell you what, I really hope we find a player who is so nasty and so horrible and so aggressive that nobody wants to play against him. Oh my God, we are screaming out for a player like that. GX Hall said, evening all, utter shambles. Seems too many players are just not interested. Paul Donaldson, plenty of possession, but we did nothing with it. The goals we are conceding from set pieces are a major concern at the moment. It's time to give Dimitar Mitov a rest for a couple of games. Scott Bowie, another dire display, especially second half. Players not looking interested. Substitutions which made us worse as the game went on. Chris came on to say, what can be said that hasn't already? Craig Thompson said, we need a British or Scottish management team. Duncan Ferguson with Yogi Hughes as number 2. They would demand respect, passion, fight and a winning mentality. Paul Donaldson said the penalty decision was a joke, one of the softest penalties against us I've ever seen. What I will say about this, about that penalty, yes, absolutely, Paul, I agree. It's so soft. But Graham sticks out a leg. And there is minimum contact, minimum. But the boy goes down so easily and theatrically. It's embarrassing, let's be honest. But again, I think about it, how would we react at our end if that happened? Because I'd be screaming for a penalty. And I think it's also telling that, particularly with the skipper, because he's always in the referee's face, always, he did nothing. Now, if players don't react to what they think is a really bad decision, in my opinion, humble opinion, they think it's the correct decision. If they thought it was a bad decision, they would be going nuts, particularly the skipper. They didn't, which suggests to me that there was an air of resignation about it. Elfie Dello says, good evening everybody. It's becoming more apparent with each passing game that some of the players are just not up for the fight. Some may have the skills, but they are far too passive and weak. King Korth Boy says, we are averaging 9 player changes per game, 4 starters and 5 subs. That will never agenda consistency, I can't speak, Jesus Christ, or understanding of role and responsibility. I completely agree. There's too many changes, week in, week out. Craig Thompson, I'm here! Simon Roy, good evening Ali and Dandies. Well, see no improvement, and if honest, Mitov got away with one, was soft foul in my opinion. Jack Milne thinks he's better than he is. Do you know, I have to be honest, I want to give Jack some credit here, because Jack's been thrown in. He's been thrown into a role that he doesn't usually play when he was coming up through the ranks. I think Jack's done all right, I have to be honest. He's still learning the game. Yes, there are obvious signs for improvement, which will come. That will come with maturity. That will come with games. Jack's doing okay for me. Thank God we've got Mats Knuster. For me, player of the season so far has been absolutely outstanding. Oh my God, where would we be without Mats Knuster at the moment? James Muir said, seem happy just to knock the ball along the back line. No desire to get forward. Have they forgotten that you've got to score goals to win games? It's just brutal to watch. Kaiser says, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I absolutely loathe 90% of our squad. Get rid of the lot, apart from some of the younger lads. They're an utter disgrace to our club. Duncan Bain says, abysmal, dispiriting, but I'm at peace, like many fans, when we know we are awful. However, the hardest thing to accept is we're getting worse by the week. We'd keep only 4 of the current team. Craig Thompson said, Mitov is at least a mistake per game. Scott Williams said, no words for that yesterday. Club is a shambles from top to bottom. Leaving, where is the chairman? Leaving it to his yes men whilst... Yeah, okay. Just be a little bit careful, please, what you say. Yeah, just a little bit, all right? Duncan Bain says, every successful side needs a strong goalie. Unfortunately, we have a weak one who's getting worse by the week. Hence why I want to talk about sports psychology. Right, I will come back to your comments because a lot of you are absolutely fuming tonight. Just very quickly, Don't forget, Ali Beg is supported and brought to you by Saltite Energy, Ali Beg ABTV of course, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. Not just that, they offer a number of services: torquing, testing, refurbishment and welding. Feel free to get in touch. Here's what Peter had to say after the game.
Peter, what's your thoughts and your assessment of the performance and the result?
Really angry, really disappointed. I thought the first half was okay. We competed well, had a bit of possession, but never really done anything with it. Had a couple of long range shots, but then again, set play kills us, and then the second half was just not good enough.
Occasions in that first half as well, and the second half, but it's the final pass when you're attacking that goes astray.
Yeah, it's just a wee bit of composure and don't panic in these situations. We work situation patterns to get into these chances, and we just kind of freeze. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing or what, but yeah, there was opportunities there.
What was the main difference between the two teams?
Yeah, quality in the final third. It's the one that's killing us right now. We have a couple of chances early on. We score that, we're 1-0 up, different game. The Rangers score, we're 1-0 down, and we're chasing the game a little bit, and then second half penalty kills us.
Is it a case of being more creative going forward?
Yeah, definitely. Subs need to make a better impact. Got to do more for me when I come on, but listen, I'll take that on the chin. That's me. I make the subs, but listen, we all got to do better here.
A wee bit more confidence, getting more bodies into the box when you are actually at it.
Yeah, definitely. When the crosses were coming in the second half, I was screaming, "Top it, get in the back post, and go make things happen. Don't wait for them to happen, you know." But listen, it's I had a right go of them in there, and we got to pick ourselves up. It's a big week. We've got to defend the Scottish Cup.
And looking forward to the Scottish Cup. You're in charge for that one, are you?
I don't know. Right now, I know I've got training tomorrow, so that's all I know.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
That was the thoughts of the manager after the game. Again, I have to say, I think he's quite refreshing when he comes out. And I like the fact that he said that he went absolutely mad at them at full time inside the dressing room. He's got a lot of work to do. He really does. A lot of work to do. Right, I'm going to give you the player stats. Take a look. Does not make for good reading. Marko Lazetic only touched the ball inside Rangers' 18-yard box 4 times yesterday. He won only 1 of 6 ground duels and was dispossessed 3 times. It's not good enough. In 45 minutes, Kevin Nisbet only touched the ball once inside Rangers' 18-yard box. He did not win any ground or aerial duels. Dante Polvara had a 67% accurate pass rate, 18 from 27, but only won 6 from 13 ground duels. And during his time on the pitch, which was 57 minutes, Jesper Karlsson touched the ball 20 times and only twice inside Rangers' 18-yard box. The fact that we are hardly touching the ball itself in our opposing team's 18-yard box tells you everything you need to know. How can it happen? What has happened to us? I just don't understand why we are so bad. Football is a very simple game. To win it, you have to score goals. To do that, you have to put the ball into the box. It's very simple. And we simply don't do it. Oh my God. Let's get back to you guys. Hey. Mark Smith says, am I alone in thinking 1.5 years into a 3-year plan where you sell your best players every transfer window and replace them with a recruitment department that thinks Yengi is an A striker is not ideal? Agreed. Jack Bruce says, lost for words how bad we are, amongst other things. Paul Donaldson said, Carlson did nothing yesterday. Keskinen was okay. He did have a bit of a feeble shot, but at least he tried to create something. Do you know what? I didn't have an issue with Toppy yesterday because at least he gave it a go. Bob Duff says, at every level, including executive, we are an absolute affront of a football club. Craig Thompson says, get Sockler back for starters. Bruce Struthers says, wingers can't cross, strikers can't score, and defenders can't defend set pieces. Mitoff's head has gone as well. Graham Gibbs says, Mitoff rightly will attract flack, but the inability of our number 9s to hold the ball up is embarrassing. Shambolic yesterday all over the park. We appear to have learned nothing from Tuesday. Chris says Ali won't come on until 100 people are waiting. That, Chris, is a load of utter gash. I will come on even if 1 or 2 people are waiting. Kaiser says, can anyone tell us why Leven thought it was a good idea to replace one statue at halftime for another? Any faith I had in Leven went right out of the window. You see, I think that's a little bit unfair. Because he could quite clearly see, I think you're talking about up front, right? I think you could quite clearly see that Marco was struggling. He was struggling to hold the ball up. He was struggling to make anything happen. He was struggling to bring players into play. He was struggling to make runs. He contributed nothing. So there's going to be a change. And Peter quite rightly made the change, hoping that Kevin would offer a little bit more, which he didn't. That's not Peter's fault. Kobe404 says, there aren't many of these players I'd be sad to see go. However, the cryptic talk from Burrows about managers being volatile, so finding players who can adapt is very worrying. Who is running this club? From a player point of view, from the player's side, I have to be honest. I want Lutz to be completely and utterly and solely in charge of this. I want a football man in charge. And I mean that with the greatest respect to the board and to the CEO. This has to be a football decision from a football-minded, seasoned professional. Every decision from the football side of things has to come from Lutz. Respectfully. Bruce Strother said, next manager has a huge job on his hands. Big clear out is needed. Paul Hurd said, so disappointing watching their players look far more up for it than ours. No fight. Scott Bowie said, Carlson without doubt the most useless performance from an alleged top elite player I have ever seen. Didn't look interested. Didn't see what when he came on at Ibrox, if that even merited a start. Oh, you guys are really not happy. Erica Mitchell says, good evening, Ali and fellow dandies. Absolutely woeful yesterday. Need I say more? Nicola Beaton said, I actually had a wee cry after the match. Peter Leven just looked so deflated after the game. I'm really worried where we go from here. Feel we're a laughingstock in the media just now. Scott Bowie says, Stuart Armstrong with a sub-appearance which I had not seen with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Overrunning the ball, giving possession away and knocking it out of play. Yeah, he didn't play great when he came on. Jack Bruce said, did anybody see the Rangers' first corner when Polvara wiped out Devlin and they nearly scored? I was laughing at the calamity of it all. Right. Oh my God, there are so many of you on. Yeah. God, you guys are really, really angry tonight. I think, I have to say, I think this is probably the angriest and most frustrated that I've seen you guys since we've started doing this show. There was a lot of frustration and anger after the Darvel defeat and Jim Goodwin and the Football Monitoring Board statement and all that. But this, where we are right now, there's a lot of anger. There really, really is. And absolutely with you 100%. Tutty Tree and Turd says, hopefully the new coach will bring in his own staff. Time for a clear out. Same faces, same results. A lot of you are asking me about this Marcus Gisdol guy. As I said, guys, I don't know much about him. I have spoken to a couple of my pals who do not gush about him. So I'm going to do more digging, more due diligence this week, and I'll try and bring you a bit of a report ahead of the Wraith Rovers game for the preview show at the end of the week. You know, since his days at Hoffenheim, he really hasn't done much, I have to be honest. Wee Mark says, after losing the first goal, the Dons turned into a jigsaw. They went to pieces. Oh. Oh, God. Russell Fraser says, I'm worried we'll do a Crystal Palace this weekend. Really shouldn't be laughing. Really shouldn't be laughing. Neil Shepherd said, we keep conceding from set pieces because we keep doing the same thing. Definition of insanity. We also can't seem to take a goal kick. How hard can it be? I know, mate. Oh, Barry came on. Barry's here. How are we doing, Barry? Talking about the shambles of a pre-season didn't help us. It didn't, mate. What pre-season? Graham Klein says, honestly, we need someone into the management position ASAP. Questions have to be asked in terms of coaching, considering the bomb scare at set pieces. Barry came back to say, are we now looking at Scottish talent again? Some of you have come on, including Bob, asking, why is a shortlist only been drawn up this week? Why is this not been done already? Bruce Struthers is asking, how many of our players are lightweight, ball players, who do nothing with the ball? Christopher Bray says, one of the worst ever Aberdeen sides I've ever seen. Bruce Struthers says, how can Motherwell get a tune out of average players and we can't? The lads just won the Manager of the Month. David Methan says, we need to sort out the backbone of the team. 2 big centre-backs, 2 tough midfielders and a tough striker required. Graham Finlater says, the club feels an utter mess, like the dark days of the late 90s and early 2000s. Time to get youth in. They do a better job. Season is done and we need points and quick to avoid a relegation battle. John Grant says, we need a new keeper and 2 new centre-halves. Kaiser says, we never replaced Morris, Papagay, the bag. Duncan Bain says, 100%, the majority of the squad is poor. We are a bottom 8 team on that squad in displays. As I said, I am at peace with it. Worse things happen. We are crap. Graham Gibbs says, what's worse than angry is when you become apathetic. That's where I am now. Sorry guys, I'm just going through it all. Safe and sound. Oh, where did that go? Damn it. Sorry. Right, I will come back to your comments. What I want to do now, because I know that a lot of you are watching for the first time and you've missed the shows last week. So I want to reintroduce to you my new sponsor on the channel, Finn Moray. Which is a concept come up by an Aberdeen entrepreneur called David Sherritt, who is an amateur musician and a very good one at that. What he has done is come up with this AI-driven concept to record, produce, compose, write an album, which is called Aeon. It's absolutely brilliant. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to David so that he can tell you a little bit more. If you are an aspiring musician, if you are an aspiring singer, if you have a family member who is looking to get a foot on a ladder which potentially could take you to another level, I suggest you take a close listen to what David has to say here. He's in conversation with our good mate Richard Gordon, telling us all about Finn Moray.
The project will be a success once you have performers, singers, artists from all over the country recording the songs, and they'll go out on the follow-up album. What would your message be to those singers, those performers around the country who might want or might benefit indeed from being involved in the project?
Get in touch. You know, this is something that maybe a lot of people have been waiting for all their lives. That they think, well, maybe I'm a great singer but I can't write, or I'm a really good singer but I don't play instruments and I don't know how to go and do this. I don't know how, but I know that if I got the chance, I could really let people see what I do. Get in touch. And this is not about people wanting fame, and I need to make that clear. This is about people who have got great talent and want people to see their talent, but they want to drive back into the communities they come from. That's first and foremost. So it'll be a lot down to the individuals as well. If you want to go on Pop Idol or something like that, this is not for you. This is about talent, people, Scotland.
Swaying peacefully calm, nourished daily by stardust. On a spot near the middle, where the solar storms run, though it's hard to believe.
That song that you've just been listening to is called The Tree on the Sun, which is personally my favourite from the album. If you want to find out more, just go to finmoray.com/music. There's so much information on there, and please take a listen to the album, and even better, buy it. Alibeg ABTV is also brought to you by Quipco International, who service the oil and gas industry. They have a purpose-built facility in Abu Dhabi to manufacture and repair a number of products, and they also do lots and lots of services. What I've listed there is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want more information, quipco.com is where you will find it. Or if you prefer, get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with the guys at Quipco. Guys, just at this juncture, just let me ask, please like the show. We've still got lots of comments to get through, which I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to 45 minutes tonight. And thank you for your continued support by subscribing to the channel. The channel's doing ridiculously well at the moment. Viewing figures are through the roof. Subscriptions are absolutely brilliant. The membership scheme is building and building and building. So thank you for your continued support. Right, I'm going to do 45 minutes. We've got about another 6 or 7 minutes to go on the show, which I'll just dedicate to you, and then we'll call it a night. Right, so let's see. Oh, Finn Moray has just got in touch himself and said, and the great news is that I think we found our first local singer tonight. More to come this week. That's absolutely brilliant. So you saw the interview with David about trying to promote local talent. Well, it looks like we've been able to do it, which is absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. Right, guys, do me a favour. Don't react to those fans of other clubs that come on. I'll take care of it. You know that they're not welcome here. So don't react to them. Don't use bad language. Don't engage. I'll get rid of them. This is a show for us. Intelligent people. Graham Klein says, Cormac Park seems to not be helping with training at all. Andrew Jameson makes a really good point. Wraith Rovers' tactics will be so simple come the weekend. Get the ball into the box, especially right on top of their goalkeeper. You're absolutely right, Ange. Sugarland says, Ferguson, McCrory, Ramadani, him, Duke, Mbappe, Morris, all gutted out over 3 seasons with Hayes and McGinn retiring. None of them replaced. Add in Ramsey, Cosgrove, Hedges, McKenna to that. Stanley Roddy says, athletes against plodders, Ali. We look slow, unfit and lightweight. Robin the Bold said, you bet we are mad. The fact that we played that way at home to them, it's just not enough. Zero fight, that is beyond the pale. Yeah. GR Duncan says, as you can actually see the total lack of movement, can't even take a bloody throw into our own players. Ross Caldwell says, no connection between midfield and attack. Slow, ponderous, sideways, backwards. Sydney says, it might be better if everyone offered a constructive criticism rather than just complaining about it. Sydney, I take your point, and you're right. Constructive criticism will help, but the constructive criticism has got to come from the coaching staff. I think us as fans have every right to vent anger and frustration at the moment because we're a shambles. People are paying really good money to go and watch the team, fella, and the team are not performing. 18,000 travelled in treacherous conditions to watch that game of football yesterday, and we offered nothing. We never laid a glove. Apart from Leighton Clarkson's shot, Toppy's half effort, that was it. That really was it. It's not good enough, mate. The constructive criticism can only come from those that play the game. But I take your point. Denise is asking, why did we get rid of so many good players after the cup final? GR Duncan came back to say, I'm back in Aberdeen for the first time in 12 years. Went to both United games and yesterday. I didn't think it was possible, but it is actually so much worse in person than watching on Red TV. Ross Caldwell says, players don't seem interested. There's no speed or guile on either wing. Nobody prepared to take on their man. Shocking set pieces both in attack and defence. Paul Hurd suggesting it's going to take many months, maybe years, to turn this around. Tenacious Danzig said, Ali, there's anger because every facet of the club's footballing operation seems to be failing. Coaching, sports science, etc. need a complete clear out. I can't argue. Muzzaji, I think it is, says, poor Rangers side and we still can't touch them. Barry Watson's asking me, what do I think needs changed? First and foremost, as I said, Lutz, for me, the sporting director, has to be in complete control of the football operations. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think we need a sports psychologist. I don't actually know, and you can correct me if I am wrong here, but I don't think we have a sports psychologist at Pittodrie. And if we don't, I'd like to know why we don't, because it's very common practice for top flight clubs to have sports psychologists. Because I do think there's something going on psychologically with the players at the moment. They're just completely devoid of confidence. That's just to get started. That's where I'm at with it at the moment, Barry. But at the moment, the most significant change for me is that Lutz has to be 100% in complete control, which I've been assured he will be. That it is 100% his decision to bring in the new manager and players. Right, let me just finish off because we're just about done. Sue says, good point. And coaches as well we need to change, including a goalkeeper coach. Alexander Waller says, I'm worried we will go a lot further down before recovery. Patient is in emergency unit. Barry Watson came back to say, Ali, Rangers never needed to get out of first gear, ready and yesterday. Mate, Barry, you're absolutely right. It's exactly what I said to my youngest son yesterday. I says they didn't even need to break sweat to beat us yesterday. And that says it all about where we are at. Oh my God, what a depressing show. Deary me. Right, we've got a few days off. By the way, I have a little idea. What do you think to doing sort of like a 15 to 20 minute show as soon as the team news comes in and get you guys reacting to the team news? Because honestly, my socials go absolutely mental whenever I post the team news. And I'm wondering if there could be a little show in that here on Ali Beg ABTV. Let's have a quick look and see what your reaction is to that first and foremost before we say goodnight. So what do you think? What if we did a show on the channel where we react immediately to the team news? Kaiser says sack the players. Anybody? Anybody? No. Okay. Leave me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Leave it on socials or get in touch. You know the usual drill. So, next show, preview show ahead of the Wraith Rovers game. And as I said, we'll be bringing Don Vasey back, sports psychologist who normally comes on the channel, to talk about the psychological side of the players at the moment. Don's come up already with some very interesting snippets, which he's going to share with you at the end of the week. So guys, have a fantastic week. Take very good care of yourselves, because I know the weather's still a bit mental there. And I will see you towards the end of the week. Take good care of yourselves. Stand free. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.